Another UFC pay-per-view week is upon us, so that means it's time for another chat with our guy, UFC lightweight contender, the Olympian Mark O. Madsen. I might add, undefeated lightweight contender, Mark O. Madsen. So, Mark, we're going to get you to weigh in on the UFC 277 main event here shortly. But first, I want to touch on some of the developments from over the weekend, specifically UFC London. And so usually when I'm watching a fight card, I have another eye on Twitter. And I noticed you were quite active on Twitter during the fights there on Saturday, specifically for the Paddy the Baddy fight. Now I quote a tweet from Mark, the Olympian. Great performance by Paddy the Fatty. Pick any date and I'm ready. Hashtag weak chin, hashtag weak wrestling. So you didn't really hold back there, Mark. So what were your overall thoughts on Paddy the Baddy's performance there on Saturday, and how do you think a fight between you and him would play out?
Yeah, first of all, let me apologize. My finger slipped, so instead of writing Paddy, it went over to the Fatty. But he looked good this Saturday, and I mean, stepping into an arena like the arena he stepped into with all the support and then still being able to perform, he looked amazing, and I think his performance was actually decent. When that being said, I do believe I will beat Paddy the Baddy any day of the week. I will out-wrestle him. I will out-grapple him. And, I mean, the way he's keeping his chin high, there's a good chance of knocking him out as well.
Okay, so this is a guy, he's getting a lot of attention. He has a flamboyant personality. To his credit, he's winning in the octagon as well, but there's some antics that I think might be rubbing some people the wrong way. So how do you feel about how the guy's carrying himself?
Well, to be honest, I think Paddy the Baddy is great for the sport of MMA. I mean, he's bringing a lot of show to the game. So I think he's a great personality. I think he's doing great. I mean, the way he's carrying himself around the sport, he's fun to watch. I mean, the hype is real. He showed everybody this Saturday that, you know, he's a good fighter. So I like Paddy the Baddy. But at the same time, I do believe I'm able to beat him any day of the week. And that being said, I mean, Paddy the Baddy is 3-0 now in the UFC. I'm 4-0, so I think it would be a great matchup. Have Paddy the Baddy tested against a real Olympian. Let's see what he got.
Yeah, let's test his wrestling skills in there a little bit, or his wrestling defense skills a little bit, right? So something else I want to ask you about, Drakkar Klose. You had an interesting series of tweets with him, a little bit of a back and forth. So what is the story there? Was there a fight offered and somebody pulled out, or somebody didn't want the fight? What's the deal with yourself and Drakkar Klose?
So the story with Drakkar Klose is this. I don't know the guy. I never met the guy. He called me out on ESPN, and it seemed like he had a beef with me. And then he was asked what kind of beef he had with me, and it turns out that he has a beef with my coach. So I'm not really sure if you want to fight me or you want to fight my coaches. I don't know the guy personally, so what I can tell you is from the impression I have so far. And to be honest, Drakkar Klose seems like a disturbed, very angry young man. And, man, I wish him the best. He's on a 1-fight winning streak. I'm on a 4-fight winning streak. I mean, I would love to fight Drakkar Klose, but this is the fight game. And, I mean, I would like him to go out and build a fight winning streak. And naturally, I would love to fight Drakkar Klose. He calls me out. I think he called me out again a couple of weeks ago. I actually offered a fight soon. I called my manager. He said, we accepted the fight, but the fight is off. And I go like, oh, that's strange. So to be honest, I don't really know what's going on. Drakkar Klose seems like a disturbed, very angry young man. That's all I can say.
Okay, so let's move on to UFC 277 going down on Saturday night. A very interesting main event. It is a rematch between Amanda Nunes, who comes in as a -250 favorite, Julianna Peña, who won the first fight, one of the biggest upsets you'll ever see in the sport, comes back as a +210 underdog. The over-under rounds on this fight, Mark, coming in at 2. And that betting line, it's very interesting at minus 250 for Amanda Nunes, considering she was minus 1,000 in the first fight. So if you think that result of the first fight was a fluke, then you got to probably think minus 250. That's pretty good value on Nunes here. So interesting storyline coming into this fight, right? Kind of shades of GSP and Matt Serra back in the day. Some people remember that as one of the biggest upsets in the history of the sport. But go back and take a look at that first fight between Peña and Nunes. And I thought Nunes showed some poor fighter IQ in that fight, you know. She continued to engage in the stand-up, despite the fact that she kept getting hit, and it looked like she was getting hurt too. But she kept engaging. So maybe a little bit of ego came into play there. But I do think that is something that she can overcome. You know, in hindsight, leading up to that fight, she didn't seem to have the same edge that she typically has in a lot of her fights. And maybe she was bored too. She was coming into that fight on a 12-fight win streak, a massive favorite in a lot of the fights. So I think she's going to bounce back here and get the W. I think maybe this might be one of those cases where that loss was the best thing for her. But at minus 250, the casual better, maybe not a whole lot of appeal there. So let's try to find a better number. I like over 2.5 rounds at minus 110. And either fighter can win the fight as long as it goes over the 2.5 round mark. And Nunes is an all or nothing fighter. And what I mean by this is her fights tend to either end very quickly or they go deeper into the fight. So take a look at her 12-fight win streak. She ended 7 of the fights in the first round, whereas 5 either went to decision or were finished in the 5th. As for how the fight goes, I would be surprised if they're going to stand and bang like we saw them do in the second round of that fight. I think we're going to see Peña's going to want to press on her, make things dirty, maybe get her down to the ground, chew up a lot of clock. So I like this one to go over 2.5 rounds. Mark, how do you see the main event playing out here on Saturday night?
Well, I 100% agree, and I think Amanda Nunes overlooked Peña in the first fight. So I do believe Amanda is going to win this fight. I do believe she's going to win it with a dominant performance. I also do think it's going to go the distance, to be honest, this time. But I do see Amanda Nunes winning the fight.
Okay, Mark. So we're going to leave it at this. Do you got any fight news for us? You know, we talked about a couple fighters off the top of the interview that you wouldn't mind being paired up with. Is there anybody else that is on your radar for potentially your next fight?
I have the whole lightweight division on my radar. I've been in Arizona since May, and I'm ready to go. So I'm super excited to get some fight news soon. I want to fight, and sitting here coming top of my mind would, you know, be beside the guys that you just mentioned, a guy like Jim Miller, a guy with, you know, the record of most wins in the UFC history, coming in with a fresh victory over Cowboy Donald Cerrone. I mean, I would love to fight Jim Miller. That would be an honor to fight a guy with that resume. So you never know what's going to happen in the fight business, but the lightweight division is full of exciting and extraordinary fighters. Jim Miller would be an exciting opponent coming off a 3-fight winning streak as well. So yeah, let's see what happens. You never know, man.
Yeah, a W versus Jim Miller would absolutely look great on your resume. So, Mark, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for watching this video. Good luck with all your bets, and for all your UFC betting needs, make sure you keep it locked on VegasInsider.com.